Coordination and communication are clearly relevant for any team. But the challenge is that while they seem simple in concept, most people would agree that they are a critical team process. It is actually quite difficult to improve your practice in this area. Teams quickly develop habits for communicating and coordinating without reflecting or thinking critically about whether or not those habits help or hinder the team process. Let's start by considering why coordination and communication can be challenging. Where do the difficulties begin? Consider the following scenario. Imagine you are meant to meet up with an old work friend during a trip to New York City. As you leave the airport, you call your friend from the taxi and tell her that you're on your way into the city. But before you can set a location, your phone runs out of batteries. You are already on the bridge into the city. Where do you tell the taxi driver to go? Most people are actually pretty good at this problem. The majority will say Times Square. Is that what you said? The other common response is the Empire State Building. If you said one of these two answers, you're in luck. You may just be able to coordinate with your friend. How are you able to do this? Reading other people's minds, coordinating without communication. We can read minds because we have a shared mental model of where people meet up in New York City. We get these shared mental models by our shared cultural experiences. Even if you've never been to New York City, you've heard of Times Square and seen it on TV. But what does it mean if you said something different? If we lack a shared cultural experience, there is an absence of a shared mental model, and coordination becomes more difficult. For example, if you don't know much about New York because you don't watch much television, you may have said the Statue of Liberty. This New York icon is known to most around the world, but only those familiar with the city know that it is difficult to get to, requiring a long line, security checks, and a costly ferry ticket. The shared mental model can also change with different cultural experiences. If you have ever lived in New York for any period of time, you probably know not to meet someone at Times Square. It's for tourists, and practically speaking, the worst place to try to meet someone. Our predictions are even sensitive to context. If the person you are meeting is a romantic interest, people are more likely to say the Empire State Building. Dozens of movies have told us that this is where couples meet, and that informs our shared prediction. Our shared experiences, our similar upbringing, our common exposure to cultural information provides us with common assumptions, beliefs, and scripts for making sense of our situation. Taking a simple business example, when a leader refers to us as a team, our cultural understanding tells us she is trying to promote cooperation. But maybe our shared experiences in that particular organization also tell us that it's just hot air, and that teamwork does not really get valued. Thus, we ignore her use of the term and continue to act like a group of individuals. In contrast, a newcomer to the organization, without those past experiences and shared understanding, may indeed be inspired to work more cooperatively. Our shared experiences allow us to develop a shared mental model, defined as the knowledge structures held by members of a team that enable them to form accurate explanations and expectations for the task, and, in turn, coordinate their actions and adapt their behaviors to the demands of the task and other team members. So, a mental model forms the lens through which we interpret our situation, shaping our understanding of the task and how to accomplish it. Common team experiences and common knowledge give rise to shared mental models. This shared lens means that we interpret the situation similarly, making it easy to coordinate with other team members without having to define or discuss every step in the work process. You can see how this would be useful, particularly in a tactical team or project team, requiring a high degree of coordination. If the team shares a mental model, they are more likely to interpret task objectives the same way, execute the task so that the individual pieces fit together as a whole, and are more efficient when discussion and coordination are required. This is partly why a team's tenure is related to team success. Teams that spend more time together develop a shared mental model that makes coordination and communication easier. So then, how do you develop your team's shared mental model? Or more practically, how do you enhance team coordination? One of the straightforward answers is planning. Planning in advance of task execution allows team members to reconcile any inconsistencies or differences of opinion, and improve task clarity and role clarity. It offers the opportunity to find agreement on how different goals should be prioritized, and how the team might adapt in the face of expected or unexpected challenges. coordination can also be enhanced by practice. This seems pretty obvious, but teams regularly fail to anticipate and plan for coordination problems, and as a result, do not always allocate time to practice execution. It's not just about improving individual competencies, but also about improving the team's ability to work together. Research is quite clear that better performing teams engage in team training, whether it be in medical, military, engineering, or business contexts. Consider sporting teams as a tactical team example. What do professional teams spend the majority of their time doing as a group? That's right, planning and practicing. And teams that do not do enough planning and practicing are destined for coordination failures come game time. If you estimate that 30% of task success is determined by the quality of your team coordination, you should be devoting 30% of your time to planning and practicing. The other critical piece is communication. Again, this is obvious, but it is so obvious that leaders often fail to reflect on their team's communication patterns, or critically consider whether that communication can be improved. For example, it might seem reasonable to have a single person responsible for coordination, a leader who serves as the information hub for the team. In reality, coordination is usually better served by a network approach to communication, where all members communicate freely with all other members, without a central hub or formal reporting lines. It may also seem reasonable to require that individuals only communicate openly with the group, making sure that everyone is involved in the conversation. In reality, coordination is usually better served from allowing and even encouraging informal side conversations among members. Consider the observation that even in an open team with a network-style communication, a typical 8-person team will only have 3 people doing over 75% of the talking. Or that team members tend to discuss information that they already know, rather than sharing unique information. These communication challenges can prevent the team from sharing critical information or doing the work to clarify any ambiguities. Communication is the facility for developing shared mental models, as well as overcoming coordination challenges that disparate mental models can create. Thus, improving your team communication may be the most effective way to improve your team's execution. Given this, we can see why it is worth the time to reflect and think critically about your team's coordination and communication habits, and whether or not those habits are helping or hindering essential team processes and, ultimately, effective execution.